Hey, health coaches and wellness advocates. My name is Tricia Sheehan, and I am making this video for you today to talk more about internal use of essential oils. It's a hotly debated topic, and I want to kind of give you some more background to help you educate yourself about it. Whether you're deciding to use, whether or not to use essential oils for yourself internally, or maybe you have other people asking you about this and you want to have a little bit more information to have an educated conversation. No matter what you're here for, great. I'm going to take just a second to tell you who I am and where I get my information from so that you can take that into consideration. But I think the bottom line on internal use is it's definitely something that you should take the time to learn about for yourself so that you can, be educated on it and have your own opinions on it. I don't encourage listening to just anybody, and even me. You really learn about it for yourself and don't just listen to somebody else. There's many different perspectives on it, and I'm going to share with you what I know today. So my name again is Tricia Sheehan. My background's in business and marketing, but I got into health coaching because of some things that was going on with the health of my family and wanting to seek better results and more answers for things. So I went back to school to become a health coach and attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I also attended the Institute for Nutritional Leadership with Dr. Josh Axe. After that time, I actually started working with him a bit and getting some training with him and helping him to curate content and run his online groups. And then I attended his Essential Oil Institute and studied under him about essential oils. And the reason that I really liked studying under him is because he's very much a data person. He's very rooted in science. And he's not only a chiropractor, but he's also a doctor of functional medicine, and he studied functional nutrition quite a bit. And since I actually have worked for him and have met him personally and had one-on-one conversations with him, I just feel completely comfortable with him, that he's a very, very trustworthy and genuine source of information, that he really stays up to date on the latest facts and studies when it comes to essential oils. So that's where I get my information from, is those schools. The Essential Oil Institute is kind of a big one where I spent a bulk of time learning about essential oils. It's brand neutral. I have also studied this book, The Chemistry of Essential Oils. And lastly, I also studied this monster of a book called Essential Oil Safety by Dr. Tisserand. So I'm constantly educating myself about essential oils every single day. There's always something new to learn. And there's quite a bit more science that's coming now that essential oils are going to be so popular. There's more studies going on with them. So just always staying up to date on the studies is important. So why is this so hotly debated? I think primarily because there's sort of two groups of essential educators at this point: aromatherapists and other people who get trained, maybe like me, they went to the Essential Oil Institute, or maybe they're with a company like doTERRA or Young Living, and they're out, selling essential oils and educating about essential oils. And those two camps butt heads. I think there's probably a lot of nuances to that. Aromatherapy is something that's been around for a long time, and people who study that spend a lot of time and energy and money getting trained in aromatherapy. And it probably doesn't feel very good for them to have people coming in doing essential oil education who don't necessarily have to have any training. So I can certainly understand that, butting of heads because of that dynamic. Luckily with, the internet and books and apps and everything, it is easier than ever for people to learn on their own, not only about essential oils, but about all things health and wellness. And everyone has to decide for themselves how important, a certification or a degree is in these things. But the education is very widely available. So in terms of aromatherapists, they, in their schooling, are taught that no one should ever ingest an essential oil, ever. No oil, no reason, no person. I dug into this to try to learn more about this perspective and where this comes from. And if anyone listening is an aromatherapist, I would absolutely love to hear more about this from you. Thus far, I've been having trouble finding this information. Usually, the aromatherapists I've asked just say, this is what we're trained on in school. But if I ask for, like, I'm looking for studies, that is the basis of that aromatherapy education. So that's where I'm having trouble getting that information. So if you're an aromatherapist or you know one, I would love to chat because I really want to know all sides to the story when it comes to internal use. But from what I can find so far, part of it comes from this book, The Chemistry of Essential Oils. Again, this is brand neutral. It's not put out by a manufacturer of oils or anything like that. It says aromatherapy books are full of precautions, warnings, contraindications, and lists of forbidden oils. They're basing their conclusions on animal and single component studies and or non-therapeutic grade oils. So what that means is essential oils can be pulled apart and individual constituents are studied. Just the linalool, for example, is studied in isolation. The problem with that is that that's not how we experience an essential oil. We don't experience just the linalool in isolation. Just like you can pull out an insecticide in broccoli because it makes that for itself to protect itself, but we don't experience broccoli's insecticide in isolation. We experience the whole piece of broccoli. So that's the problem with those studies, is that it's not actually replicating what we're experiencing in real life. So that's the big one. And then the quality of essential oils varies a ton. So think about it this way. If you have two pieces of beef and one is just, it's conventionally raised, and the other one is grass-fed, grass-finished beef, they're you guys know these are two totally different things. One can harm, one can help. They should not be compared as equals and discussed equally. It's the same thing with oils. They can be, extremely pure, or they can be full of pesticides and fillers, or from, the wrong plant. The Latin name, if somebody really knew what they were looking for, they could see the Latin name was, it's from the wrong place. It's very easy for essential oils to have a low quality because nobody's regulating it, not in the US anyway. And so it's like the supplement industry. You can buy a bottle of supplements and really hardly, basically anything can be in there as long as it doesn't kill you. The United States government doesn't protect us very much in the supplement industry or in the essential oils or herbs or anything like that. So something can say 100% pure, all natural. It means nothing. So some companies have come up with their own standards because none exist. This is not a marketing ploy. This is a transparency thing where they say there's no standards, but we want to commit ourselves to X, Y, and Z. They'll lay out what their standards are. And when you're looking for an essential oil, I would look for that. These are therapeutic products with, they're very strong. They can really affect the body in a very big way. So it's worth taking the time to understand what you're buying and really get to know this company. What are they about? Do they have transparency around their testing? And not just any test, because you can say, oh, well, this bottle of oil, passed a test, but it's not the oil in your hand. It was just some batch at some point passed a test, which is pretty meaningless. You need to know what you have in your hand. Did this pass a test? And so that's very rare to find, that kind of transparency. And I think that's important. You can decide for yourself what you think, but aromatherapists are usually brand neutral. And so they don't promote one brand over another. They just educate about essential oils in general. And so since they don't know what you're going to be using, they have to give as safe recommendations as they possibly can, which common sense says no ingestion, because they don't want you ingesting something that's full of pesticides and fillers and who knows what. So that's from my best research, what's behind aromatherapists saying no ingestion ever is because they don't know what you're using. That's the safest thing to say, which I agree with. Now, if you're talking to someone like Dr. X or Dr. Zielinski or other doctors or scientists or researchers who are very knowledgeable about essential oils, they will say, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Truly pure essential oils that come from the right place and aren't contaminated with anything, that have not been adulterated, is the other very big key. Is there are some sophisticated ways to adulterate essential oil so that on a GCMS test it still looks okay, but it's been messed with, like GMOs, kind of. You can think of it that way. But there has been some new technology that was just released that is more advanced and can detect when an oil has been manipulated. So that is really good. So you want to make sure it hasn't been manipulated. But if you're talking about an oil that is pure, hasn't been messed with, it checks all the boxes, it can really have some pretty awesome therapeutic benefits. And so what Dr. Axe says is he's conservative with his recommendations, which I really like. And he says you have to look at which oil, because not all oil should be ingested. And this is probably another reason why aromatherapists say don't ingest anything, because you have to really look, and some people are not that careful. You have to read your bottle and see what it says. Does it have a supplement fact label on it? Does it say that it's for internal use? You have to look, because they're not all for internal use. So which oil is it? Is it truly pure? Also, who's ingesting it? It's for adults. It's not for children. It's also for people with healthy livers. This is not specific to essential oils. Your liver does a lot of hard work in your body, and it's processing any environmental chemicals coming in. It's processing your medications. And so if it's sluggish or diseased or struggling, we don't want to add more burden to it. So if you have liver problems, then internal use may not be right for you, because we don't want to make your liver struggle even more. You can stick with topical and aromatic use. And then how much? The amount matters. This stuff is very strong. So if someone downs half a bottle, that's probably going to cause them some problems. You're not supposed to do that. This is like when you get medication from your doctor. You read the instructions. You do what you're supposed to do with them. This needs to be treated with the same mindfulness. So his recommendation is 1 to 3 drops at a time. In a rare instance, there might be a reason to do more than that. Like if you're, really quite sick and needing a stronger effect. But the basic recommendation is 1 to 3 drops at a time. And you can do that 3 times a day. Ideally with food, to make sure it doesn't irritate your stomach. Some people choose to put those 1 to 3 drops in their water. Some people choose to just put it under their tongue. I think the most conservative recommendation is to get yourself a veggie cap. It usually comes in like a bottle. And it looks like this. Pop it open. You just, take your essential oil, drip it in, 1, 2, 3, close it up like this. Take it like any other supplement with your meal. I think that's the most conservative way to do it. And that's how I do it. And that's how I encourage people to consider doing it. As far as the debate about should it be in your water or not, looking into this, I really like what Dr. Robin Fawcett has to say about this. Her perspective is, look, guys, your mucous membranes are constantly being assaulted by spicy food, really cold things, really hot things, foods with sharp edges like chips. Like they're constantly dealing with this stuff, and they're constantly repairing themselves. And she does not believe it is going to harm your mucous membranes at all for an essential oil to touch it briefly on the way down while you're swallowing it in some water. That's her perspective on it. Other people will disagree. So you decide for yourself if you want to do that or not. If you want to drop it in your water and swallow it down, or you just put it in a veggie cap. It's easy. And if you have a sensitive digestive tract, go ahead and just put it in the veggie cap and protect it on the way down. So that is kind of the basics around the internal use debate. I also really encourage you guys to keep in mind, when articles float around about this hot topic, you need to look at who's writing the article or who's putting this information out. A lot of the times, unfortunately, what I have found is that it's coming from places where all they care about is traffic to their site. They don't care so much about journalistic integrity. They just need traffic to their site so that they keep their advertisers coming in and keep their paychecks coming in. Traffic is everything. And they know they'll get traffic if they put up content like that. Same thing when they debate doTERRA versus Young Living. They know they will get a lot of hits on that article. They'll get traffic to their site, and that's what matters to them. If you're anywhere you're reading, look for who's providing this perspective. What is their education? What is their background? A lot of the times, people writing these articles have no education. It's just their opinion, and they have no education, no background in essential oils or health or science or medicine or anything. And you have to look into that. Also, when they're making a claim or stating an opinion about something, what are their sources of information? Did they get it from a book? Did they get it from PubMed? Where did it come from? And I don't think it's enough to say, I went to school and learned it. I think that you should push back and ask them more about where that came from. So that's my best recommendation. Again, internal use is for you and you alone to decide what you're comfortable with. You're probably going to, if you were to browse the internet, you could find good arguments on both sides of the story. And if you or someone you're trying to help decides that internal use is not something they're comfortable with, that is perfectly fine. Topical use is also extremely effective. Obviously, they can also just use a diffuser or breathe it in right from the bottle. Aromatherapy is the most gentle way to experience essential oils. And then topically is the next strong, and internal use is the strongest. So I think it's just about education and awareness and being careful about things you read on the internet and making your own decisions. So I hope that helps. If you do still have questions, please pop them below, or you're welcome to contact me. My email is triciahealthcoach@gmail.com, TRICIA healthcoach@gmail.com. I also have an education group on Facebook. If you'd like to join that, you can look up Empowered and Healthy, or just PM me and I'll send you the link. You're welcome to join us. I share a lot of different types of education and tips and ideas, and we share testimonials, and it's just a very positive, empowering place to be if you're someone who's looking to learn more about essential oils. So I hope that helps, and I hope you have a great day.